Welcome to our Shamans Directory Live community event. I'm Mayumi Beckers from the Netherlands, and I'm one of the founding members of Shamans Directory, and I'm truly delighted to be your host today. Thank you everyone for being here today. I welcome you all to say hello in the chat and to tell us also where you're viewing from and to settle yourself in your sacred space so we can receive all the wonderful wisdom and knowledge that will be offered to us. And for those of you who don't know us, I want to explain a little bit about us, about Shamans Directory. We are an online platform for shamanic earth-based services that is inclusive to original people, First Nation healers, and modern-day shamanic practitioners. We are a non-profit created for healers, teachers, clients, and curious to offer global access to shamanic healing and teaching and to support in the great transformation that we are in today. As we are growing as a community, we welcome you to become part and unite with us in service in order to support our collective One Fire, One Medicine vision. And you can visit our website at shamansdirectory.com to learn more and get listed as a shamanic healer or teacher. Find a shamanic healer or teacher that feels right for you, or just to join our community and to stay updated about our events and our news through our newsletter. And today we have two amazing guests who will be guiding us and speaking around the theme, clearing the colonist mindset, telling a different story for a healthier reality, which is a truly relevant and important topic for today's times. And they have planned a beautiful presentation and meditation for us, and I'm truly excited to dive into this all together. And please bear in mind that during this interview and presentation that we don't allow on-screen interactions, but of course we really welcome you to share any questions or comments that you may have. So please put them in the chat if you have anything that you would like to ask or share about. So now let me please give you a brief introduction of our guests, Roberta and Dallas. Shamans Directory member Roberta Boyce is the founder of Essential Sacred Self, a system that interweaves shamanic technologies, crystalline networks, and expanded consciousness to invite connecting and embodied potential. And for this event, she combines her gift with those of her colleague J.Dallas Gudgell, who over the past 30+ years has served as an educator and life coach and worked closely with elected officials on issues involving education, indigenous concerns, climate justice, human rights, and environmental protection and conservation. A whole list of things that he has done. So Roberta and Dallas, welcome. I'm truly excited to have you here both. Thank you. So I know, Roberta, we had you before in May 2023. So we learned a little bit about you and your background. And I encourage everyone also to go back to this presentation, which is on our YouTube channel and is entitled as Awaken and Activate Your Potential. So you can learn more about that as well. But for those of us who may have not met you yet, I would love, Roberta, that if you could introduce yourself a little bit, and also Dallas to welcome you. And it would be really wonderful if you could share a little bit about your background and how you have come to this path.
Thank you, Mayumi. Thank you. And it's lovely to be welcomed back by you and to collaborate again with Dallas. It's lovely to see you all. So thank you, everyone who is present and everyone who will receive this. Thank you. And thank you, Trisha, the work of Shamans Directory. What a beautiful and magnificent, for some reason, is a word that comes through, undertaking and just reality, the reality of your being there to be utilized. So for myself, I've been working in the current role that I have for just over 10 years now, but I was born a sensitive, and so started to recognize that in myself around about the age 7. So for me, connection with that world, the subtle realms of spirit and the subtle realms of energy, often leads to wanting to serve. I've seen this not just in myself and my own story, but for others that I work with and for clients as they come also. So to enter into potential, or how I would help a person enter into potential, is really to understand within yourself, your soul and your spirit, and how to align with your soul and your spirit, because that is what an individual's potential is. So today, it's an honor to be able to speak about that and to that in terms of the colonialist mindset, this kind of story that we have that's out in the world at the moment, and it's extremely dominant. That is a way that we utilize our mind, the kind of orchestration and movements of the mind that are really fixed and really a presiding force. And so as a sensitive, I feel like I've always been outside of that. It's always been available and known to me that there's something other, another way to be, and that way is highly collaborative and is felt and is sensed. And so that's a sort of arena that I occupy, not just through my work, but also how I live in my world, and also what we will be sharing with you today. So again, it's an honor to be able to be here and to offer this meditation from that point of view for me, from the point of view of there being ourselves, our individual selves, and the way that we interface with this world and with spirit, with something larger, and how we can actually connect the two to come into a meaningful way of living that is much more collaborative with the earth and with this arena of knowledge that is always out there around us, guiding us, supporting us, and championing us.
Thank you, Roberta.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hey, Hanawashte. Look at these beautiful faces. Hey, I can see the faces. I think you all are seeing too. I'm a father and a son, a grandfather, nephew, uncle, friend, neighbor, community member, helper. Those are who I am. And in Western culture, in the colonial mind, we generally say our name. Often we don't say our native name. We give our Western name. And Ihanawashte Amacha Pe Dallas. Good morning. I am Dallas. And I grew up on a reservation in northeastern Montana, the Fort Peck, Assiniboine, and Sioux Reservation. We actually call ourselves Dakota. I'm a band of Lakota Nation, Yankton, Dakota, Siston and Wahpeton bands and clans. We roamed the plains from Nebraska to Glacier Park to the North Platte River in Colorado, which was our original territory under the 1848 treaty, which then was whittled down by 1868 to a number of little chunks all throughout South Dakota, a little bit in North Dakota and Montana. So having been blessed to be born on the path of the Red Road, I haven't had to unlearn some things that I grew up with that were just a part of our life. Right relationship with Magaina, Mother Earth, our grandmother, and so I haven't had to unlearn that. What what I've done is walked in the colonial world and the native world, which is a quite a balancing act. I'm an environmental scientist by profession, and I've had a half a dozen encore careers, which I have given me a lot of experience and a lot of life experience. So it's been wonderful. My teachers are from both North and South America, and there is that Eagle and Condor project that I think people may be aware of, and I'm not all that familiar with it, but that is my teachings. They come from both North and South America, and in both ways, all of our creation stories, all of our myths are all different and yet all the same. And we come to the place of understanding that we are star people. And so that connection to the cosmos is always there and always available to us. And so in a colonial mind, we kind of learn that maybe that veil is an iron curtain, when really it's a very permeable veil, and we can always access that, push through that membrane and that veil of the non-visible world. We're a pretty crowded place here on our walking on our mother, but when you're coming from a native, indigenous, earth-based perspective, the non-visible world is even more crowded. There's a lot going on out there. So we move in and out of that, and it's always available. That all takes place inside ourselves. And so that connection, many of our ceremonies take place in the dark, because we believe that most healing takes place in the dark light. The dark light for us is the reality when we connect, when we have that direct connection. And so in that dark light is where the reality is. And we do that, and that's not the ceremony. That's when we're connected. That's when we're real. That's when we're ourselves. That's when we find our centers, and we'll be doing that hopefully in this guided meditation. And we do that so that we can come out into the ceremony of the white light, because the ceremony of the white light is quite busy, and the blessed place to participate in that ceremony of the white light is from our core and our center. So that's what I'm hoping we will do. And I feel in my world and from my teachers, I feel there's a time of transition. This is a time of great change. We're moving from what we call the fourth world of separation to the fifth world of illumination. So the rules are going to change. The colonial mindset is not going to be able to find its way through the world of illumination and community and relationship and right relationship with Mother Earth and each other. And so as we move through this transition, and we're hoping to provide in some meditation tools to find ourselves, to at once know our core and our center and be connected to all things. So there's a renaissance of that, I think, in a number of different ways, with meditation, with sound baths, with forest bathing, with plant medicine. I think that renaissance is emerging because we feel an existential crisis because we haven't been in right relationship with our mother. And so children who are not in right relationship with their mother are very conflicted and very confused. And the colonial mindset that we have to live within is conflicted and confused. And so as we do this transition to right relationship, we'll need to know where our centers are and where our core is. And so it'll be a time of awakening. Again, the rules will change. There'll be a balance, my teachers say, between remembering and remembering from 2,000 years ago or longer, and a time of learning and creating new ceremony. Some of our ceremonies in my tribe we haven't done for 200 years. When the time's right, we'll remember and we'll redo those. But my teachers also say we must create new ceremony. So you all look ready for a new ceremony today.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I can't wait to go into this meditation. But before we do so, I'm also very curious, like how you both met each other across the continents, and what has inspired you to work together and also offering this topic today. So I don't know if any of you can answer that.
You want? Okay, you want me to answer? You're on mute, Roberta. Okay.
I can answer unmuted how we met, which is that I have given groups and continue to give groups called crystal channeling. When I work with crystals, it's with the understanding that the crystals can create a network, and this network draws through the body into the earth and through these subtle realms that we've been talking about also. When we do that, we understand ourselves as an interface, our physical being, our breath, all that we inhabit here in our physicality has the possibility to be an interface for these two realms, spirit and earth. And I was doing this and I had a lovely client come named Matthew. And Matthew is a very enlightened being. And through lockdown, he began to get a group together to help people through lockdown. And one of the people that was part of this group was Dallas. And in meeting with Dallas, he said to me that he felt that Dallas and I could do some work together. So we all met. It was very clear that part of our meeting would also have to be part of getting our ancestral and lineage energetics to meet. So that happened. And I think on the night that that happened, I had in dream time a meeting with our ancestors, and our ancestors said, yeah, we've been waiting a while for you to do this work. So this is us, Dallas and I, together in collaboration to bring through this work, really, this work now, in the moment that it is ready to be done, to help individuals and to serve, really, to serve along the lines of both of our knowings, both of our different ways of being in these worlds, bringing them together in commonality, because there is a lot of commonality in the different ways we look at things. So I'm looking through my channel, and with Dallas, we find when we work together, his ability to really earth and anchor what comes through the interdimensional discourse that I am tuning into just works beautifully. It comes together with such harmony. So yeah, that's how we've met, and that's also how we came to realize that working together kind of in a way predates us. We signed up for it way back, it appears.
Yeah, that's a very accurate description of how we met. The friend that I had joined this group with, Matthew, is a friend that I've had for 30 years who's done a number of things as well. but most recently he had been basically studying psychology, and he calls himself a panpsychologist, and had been really deep diving into climate trauma, and the psychological effects of climate trauma, on particularly on the younger generation, but all of us, and we're all in that climate trauma soup. We can't deny it. We can't get out of it. And there's different ways to react to that. If we feel a climate of even more individualism and separation in our world, that is the pushback of climate trauma, really, of how we're feeling. We need to hunker down and protect ourselves and our own. And in this new time coming, it's just the opposite. We're going to need community and to live a little lighter on the earth. And so my friend Tom, the climate panpsychologist, introduced me to the online group with Matthew, and we became great friends. I'm hoping to get to London at some point to see both Matthew and Roberta. And Matthew's focus at that time was collective trauma, healing trauma, generational trauma. And so Roberta's ancestors and my ancestors met and said, yes, it's time to take a look at how we move through this transition, heal our trauma, go into the dark light, do that work. And during this process, shortly after our ancestors met and we were guided, my grandfather is a boarding school, native institutional school survivor. And I had a chance, he'd been kind of stuck in the Bardo. And I had a chance to release him and his trauma. So when we do this work, we're really, it's not just our own individual trauma that we're releasing, which is wonderful and good, and it's hard work. It doesn't feel good while we're doing it, but it is good work when we move through it. But we're releasing trauma for those past generations too.
It's so powerful and profound, the work that you're doing, and I'm glad that you found each other and doing this work for the times now and for our ancestors. And Dallas, when I met you, you also spoke about that there's a huge need that to listen widely to the indigenous peoples and their wisdom that has been really suppressed since the colonized times, and that we are in a spiritual crisis at this point. And you already talked about it a little bit, but would you like to share a little bit more on your view before we start this meditation? Because I thought it was very important.
Yeah, this climate trauma soup that we're swimming in as two-leggeds, because we haven't quite been in right relationship with Mother Earth, with ourselves, with our inner selves. I mean, I'm not saying this to be critical. This is just it's just an evolutionary process, and we're at this stage of our evolution, from the postmodern, individual, to we're moving into this time of illumination and community, from the time of separation. So I don't mean it in a critical sense. However, indigenous cultures, earth-based cultures around the world are more recently removed, if you will, from that earth-based lifestyle, and many of them haven't really ever been removed from that earth-based lifestyle. And so when we see the climate COP meeting and the biodiversity COP meeting with the UN, what we see is that the youth who are going to inherit this mess, I suppose, for lack of a better word, that we've that we've created with climate change. And the indigenous people are often outside of those rooms, often inside of those decision-making rooms around climate, are not the indigenous leaders, and they're not the youth. And so they're generally outside protesting. And because they are more recently removed from this this lifestyle of earth-based living, they still contain the wisdom of how to live in right relationship. And so I feel like at its core, the climate crisis is really a spiritual crisis. People are looking for this relief, this trauma healing, inner peace, and aren't able to find it necessarily in an individualistic mindset, colonial mindset. And so I think that is where we're going. I think there's this hunger, and like I say, we see a renaissance for plant medicine. Well, the plants told the folks of the Amazon and other parts of the globe what to do. The plants were the teachers at that point. And so I feel like I'm getting off track a little bit, but it does feel like this is more of a spiritual crisis, because we are moving into this new time it's an awakening time. And so this will be a spiritual awakening. And so I believe that following those teachers that are most recently removed from this earth-based lifestyle, I currently work on species conservation. I'm working on wolf reintroduction and trying to get buffalo back into their historic ranges. We will, and this is happening all over the world, restoring arid grasslands with keystone species like bison, water buffalo, whatever that happens to be. That's the anecdote for the climate, for global warming, is getting the earth back into its balance. And Western science, after the postmodern era, is now finally catching up with ancient science. Oh, the aspen trees do talk to one another. It's like, yeah, we told you that 100 years ago. We already knew that. And I'm not being arrogant or egotistical in an indigenous, but that's just, the plants told us that. We had communication. We talked to one another. We understood one another. And we propped ourselves up on chairs and removed ourselves from the earth, and we don't have that communication anymore. So if we go back to the indigenous leaders, they're still communicating. And Western science is now learning all of the things that most ancient scientists already knew, and those cultures already knew that. So I think that's why the indigenous leadership, I think, is going to be key as we move through this transition.
Thank you, Dallas. I think it's very important for everyone to know, and also your humbleness within this. But yeah, there's a lot to learn from all the Asian wisdom as well. And I think it will be a great time to start the meditation that you have prepared for us. And if you have any prayer, Dallas, that you would like to start off with, then you're very welcome to do that for us. So I will just leave it all to you. And everyone, please settle yourself and receive all the beauty.
Wakantanka de kancha wopida 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 magaina wopida wambli gleshka wopida amani tutanka wopida teoshpe jantewashte teoshpe wopida for today, ancestors, grandfathers, grandmothers. Today is a couple of days after the equinox to Kanchala. And so we are and we're moving into a new time, a new season, Tekanchla. We on this Mother Earth in our daily lives are moving into a new season as well, into a new world, a new transition, Tekanchla, from the world of separation to the world of illumination, Tekanchla. We'll come together and we'll heal and we'll hold each other up, Tekanchla. So we pray for that in this time of awakening, Tekanchla, in this time of transition, this time of newness, Tekanchla. And we pray for all of those who are leaders, Tekanchla, that can help us in this transition, Tekanchla. We pray for their awakening, Tekanchla. And if they don't have the skills, the means, the center, the core, Tekanchla, to do that, we ask that that power be shared, Tekanchla, with others that do, Tekanchla. So as we come into this time, Tekanchla, with that mindset, Tekanchla, we're asking for health and help and forgiveness, Tekanchla, so that we learn our place, we learn who we are, Tekanchla, as individuals, we learn our right relationship with those around us and our Mother Earth, Tekanchla. We ask that those ancestors in the West, Tekanchla, where those thunder beings live, Tekanchla, that they come and be with us, Tekanchla, and hear our intentions, Tekanchla. And those ancestors in the North, Tekanchla, where the four-leggeds live, Tekanchla, that direction that covers everything without prejudice with the white snow, Tekanchla. We ask that direction and those ancestors that are standing there and listening to us, Tekanchla, come and be with us here today, Tekanchla. We pray for those ancestors in the East, Tekanchla, where that morning star lives, Tekanchla, where we get our wisdom, Tekanchla. We pray for them in a good way, that those ancestors, Tekanchla, can hear our hearts, Tekanchla, hear our intentions, Tekanchla. And we pray for those ancestors in the South that are standing there and looking at us, Tekanchla, that place where we get the power to grow, Tekanchla, that first breath when we come into this world, Tekanchla. We pray for that in a good way. And those ancestors, we ask them to join us, Tekanchla. We pray for everything in the above, Tekanchla, all of those winged ones that carry our prayers, our thoughts, our intentions, our good ways of being, Tekanchla. We pray for that above direction, Tekanchla. Those ancestors lean down close to the earth. We're pitiful and weak, Tekanchla. And so we ask that they hear our intents, our thoughts, our heart, Tekanchla, today. We pray for Magaina, Tekanchla, this grandmother that we walk on. And we ask that we learn how to live in right relationship with her, Tekanchla, in a good way, Tekanchla. She's crying, but Tekanchla, she loves us, Tekanchla. So we pray that we learn these lessons, Tekanchla. And we pray for that seventh direction, Tekanchla, that thing that lives inside us, Tekanchla, that fire that we have that connects us to all things, Tekanchla. We pray for these things, Tekanchla, today as we come together as humble two-leggeds, Tekanchla. And so when we do these things, Tekanchla, much of the time we're just humans merely being, Tekanchla. And when we do these kind of things together, Tekanchla, in community, we are connecting the human to the being, Tekanchla. So we ask that we come together in that way here today, Tekanchla. Ho matake, I say. So we're going to do a little guided meditation, and we'll set the stage for that. As we will move through this transition, there are these things that rise up that are both at once contradictory and complementary. And so I want to guide through that, because that's the place in which we will need to find ourselves, to locate ourselves as we move into this new time. And so I ask you to find a body of water, a lake, river, ocean. Often a lake is a good body of water to think about, a pond even. And this pond, this lake may be surrounded by mountains, maybe not. And we're just going to get to know this lake, begin to take steps into the water. Walk into the water, feel it, feel your skin, the water touching the skin. You're on the earth, you're still grounded, your feet feel the bottom of the lake. You're connected to the earth. Yet in this body of water that flows around you. And you can walk in as far as you want, up to your neck, however you want to do that. And as you are feeling the lake, feeling your skin, feeling the difference between the exterior boundaries of your skin and the water, see if you can become the water. What we want to think about is resistance and resilience, and how those things are complementary and maybe at odds. Resistance might not be the best tool for awakening, but resistance might have helped us in the past. It may have been a friend. Resilience, it may be the opposite of resistance, maybe not. Is resilience a new feeling, a new concept? Does it create a place of spaciousness within our thoughts? So as you feel the water, think about resistance and resilience.
As you breathe, breathe in the felt energetic experience of this element of water. How you feel it inside of your body, and how you feel the surrounds of it, eddying, rippling. With each in-breath, feeling how the water draws towards you. With each out-breath, feeling how it expands beyond you. And with each movement in and out, finding yourself centered. The ground that is the bedrock beneath this water. So that even within these movements, these currents, the kinetic possibilities of this water. You are still firm in yourself, firm in your standing, grounded. And from this place, breathing in to the root, lower back, belly, pelvis, hips. Breathing the sensation of the water into this physical place. So that within you, you feel your body's response to connecting with this energy, this element. And finding within the space of your root the elements within you that correspond with resistance. However they come, through the lower back, through the belly, through the pelvis, through the hips, your own tendencies that link with the notion, the idea, the history, the narrative of resistance. Held as you are by the ground, breathing free of any judgment, free of any constriction, free to feel these elements of resistance, however they are showing up, however they are affecting that physical place that is your root. As bit by bit, breath by breath, you allow yourself to move from that physical holding, merging with the water, finding a first circular motion that surrounds you, the first circle of a ripple into the water, allowing your resistance to move through and from that physical holding to meet that first circle. Bathing your resistance, softening and dissolving any elements of it that feel overly hard, overly narrow, overly protective. Through your breath, through your awareness, letting them go to meet that first encircling of water. Feeling feeling this as it unfolds. As bit by bit, breath by breath, you expand past that first encircling of water into a secondary one, a second ripple, larger and more encompassing, in flow and fluidity. And through this second circling, breathing through again your relationship to resistance. Letting the water move with a clarity that reframes, recalibrates this relationship. In your wisdom, in your feeling, through the energy, through the element, connecting this second circle. Letting it bring clarity through to your relationship with the idea, the notion, the narrative of resistance. As bit by bit, breath by breath, you guide that energy, you guide that water through from the second circle to connect with a third. The full state of expansion that you can reach in this moment. Still centered, still grounded, still with the bedrock, expanding through the first ripple, the second ripple, to meet this third encircling, the energetic of water. And through your breath, through your being, connecting through with the energy of resilience. However that comes for you, breathing it, moving it, flowing it through that third expanded encircling. Breathing through the actual feeling of resilience, how it vibrates around you, connects with this expanded circle. Breathing from that third and circling back into the second. Drawing this energy back in towards you. So that now, through this second ripple, this second movement of energy, element of water, your resistance and your resilience merge. Your individual way, your relationship, your merging, resistance, resilience, held in this expansive, fluid flow. As breath by breath, bit by bit, you breathe from the second circle into the first, breathing it into closer connection around your root. Feeling how the energy connects now, that it is merged with resilience and resistance. Bringing the two into relation. Through the circle, through the element, through the energy. Breathing, guiding the felt energetic of this merger into the root, lower back, belly, hips, pelvis, the entirety of this space, this place within you, receiving, calibrating with this new energetic resistance, resilience, brought into balance. Centered within you. How it feels. Gaining clarity on how it feels. As you bring this felt energetic through the root, down through your body of water and into the ground, into that bedrock, centering it with the earth.
You can find yourself with your breath, breathing into the center of your being. Breathe in through the top of your head. Have your breath flow down through your body. Breathe out through the bottom of your feet. Breathing in through the bottom of your feet, collecting the energy from the earth. Feel your breath rise and breathe out the top of your head. Breathing into the center of your being in this circular flow. Brings you back to center, yourself, your core. You feel the water around you still. You can feel the differentiation between you and the water. And maybe at once, no differentiation. You are the water. In your core, in your center, your spine. Many cultures think of the spine as a way to center ourselves, to ground ourselves, to find our core. In my tribe, the grandmothers, the aunties, the women carried their knife on their belt in the center of their back. That tool that provides for the people food, that tool that they use to protect the people. That is a tool that they carried along their spine. The strongest structure in our bodies. The samurais, in the same way, carried their swords down the length of their spine, knowing that that was their center, their place. Many cultures, in my culture, we braid our hair, and that braid rests down our spine. Our hair is our life, and our life rests down the length of our spine in our braid. And so in this way, as we breathe into the center of our being, we can find ourselves, we can straighten our back, relax our jaws, relax our shoulders, breathing out the bottom of our feet to ground into the earth, breathing in the earth's energy and releasing it to all that's in the above, where we connect to all things. In this way, we can think about words. We can feel how these words feel without judgment. Let us think about denial and curiosity. How do those words feel with us as we're breathing? How do they land? Can we examine those words, those feelings in a non-judgmental way? Can we release denial when necessary? Can we be curious about the future? Can we be curious about the unknown? Can we release the why and only be curious? So as you're grounding in the bedrock at the bottom of the lake, as you're connecting to all of the above, think about denial and curiosity and how those tools, how those feelings, how we can use those words who seem to maybe contrast, but also complement one another.
So breathing through the breathwork, through the spine, and into the heart. Feeling again that sense of water, the sense of the flow, the fluidity of the encircling of this water at the level of the heart, center of the chest. Feeling that with each in-breath you are drawing that element of water into you, into the heart space, and through the length of the spine. And as you breathe into the center of the chest, into the heart chakra, just seeing any relationship with denial, allowing that energy to touch into the center of the chest, the heart chakra. As you open that space and witness any relationship with the narrative, the notion, the experience of denial. And through the expanse of the water around you, feeling that you are being encircled by this element, by its energy, surrounding the chest, surrounding the heart chakra, as you let it soften and melt any senses of denial that lie there and that lie along the length of the spine. feeling that you can receive through that first ripple of water to soften and dissolve these elements of denial. As bit by bit, breath by breath, you breathe from that first encircling into a second circle, a second ripple, a second sense of expansion that moves beyond you through the element of water. As this encircling gathers clarity, allowing you a clearer sense of your relationship to denial, however it comes. Just feeling and witnessing and breathing through the chest, through the spine. As bit by bit, breath by breath, you move from that second encircling into a third, flowing with the water, its currents, into this third most expanded ripple. Enlarging the circle that holds you, encompasses you, as it begins to move with the energy of curiosity. Breathing through this opening, welcoming through this curiosity, even as you remain in the center, grounded into your bedwork. This elemental movement, connecting through curiosity, as bit by bit, breath by breath, you breathe through that third circle back into the second. Merging curiosity with denial. These two currents, these two movements, recalibrating, balancing. Breathing through this rebalanced sense of curiosity and denial into that first circling, so it sits closer to you, weaves around you by the center of the chest, the heart chakra. breathing through this sense of this renewed relationship into the center of the chest and through the spine. Actual, felt, energetic. As you bring these two together, breathing it through the spine. Breathing it through the chest. As you feel the quality of this merger moving through you, downwards, down, 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 through that body of water, into the bedrock, and grounding free of limitation, grounding free of mindset. Held in this new feeling of relationship.
As you breathe into the center of your being, feel the bedrock beneath you, the water around you, feel your center, breathing into the center of your being. We're working with words and feelings and balance. And balancing words, seeing how they affect our feelings, our thoughts. And as we move forward, think about seeking and surrender. Do the very thing that we've been doing with the other words. These are only words, but words can be a perilous gift, and they contain energy. And when we release them, we don't have control over that energy that they take on. As you're breathing into the center of your being, grounded in the bedrock, flowing in the lake, can you practice flowing out with the ripples as we've done, with seeking and surrender? What are we seeking? Why are we seeking? Can we let go of judgment of seeking? Can we surrender? What do we need to surrender? Think about these contrasting words, how they feel, where they land in your heart. Your heart chakra is open, accepting ready. Be thinking about these as we move forward. Take some breaths and come back into your body.
With the breath, breathing into the spine and into the head. Through the neural pathways, into the very seat of the mind, breathing there. Feeling the connection with the bedrock that moves through the root, moves through the heart, moves through the spine, centered, strong, rebalanced. As you flow this sense of centering through the core and into the head. Feeling again the connection with the water, elemental, cleansing. Feeling it move through the mind, feeling it move through the hair. Each strand of wisdom, feeling this energy move as you witness the seeking that sits within the mind, holding it in the gentleness of that water. Soothed by that element. To release the overactivity that may come through this seeking. To soften and dissolve it as you begin to breathe through to that first connecting circle, that first ripple. Feeling how you are cleansing these tendencies to seek, out from any overactivity of the mind. as bit by bit, breath by breath, you move beyond that first encircling, expanding through to a second ripple, a second circle, currents of water, the felt energetic of this element, as it brings new clarity, new perspective on this notion, this idea, this lived experience of seeking. Breathing through this clarity, expanding to further depths, further reach, allowing the full expansion of the third encircling to surround the head, the mind, the neural pathways, to connect and bathe with the hair, each strand of wisdom. As this third circle engages, connects through, surrender. The actual energetic feeling of surrender. As bit by bit, breath by breath, you bring this feeling through. This sense, this movement of surrender from the third expanded circle in towards the second. Recalibrating and rebalancing, merging, seeking, and surrender, forming right relationship between these two aspects. Breathing from the second circle into the first, drawing that merger, that connection closer around the head, the mind, the neural pathways, each individual strand of wisdom. As you absorb it through the hair. Clear feeling, clear experience of this merger. bringing together these two energetics, seeking and surrender. As you guide them through to the center of the head. Clear, tangible experience of the quality of this energy as you breathe it from the center of the head, through the spine, to the heart. From the heart to the root. From the root into your body of water. Down and down and down, through to the bedrock. Grounding, centering, rebalancing.
Breathing into the center of your being. Begin to notice how you feel, how it feels to balance words, thoughts, emotions, feelings, intents, how it feels to balance things that maybe once seemed contrary, these words that might project opposite. How does that balance feel now? Where does it land in your body? As you breathe into the center of your being, feel if that balance feels right in your body. Check in with your body and see where it landed. Without judgment, if you feel centered, with your breath, you can anchor that balance. You can anchor the tools of curiosity, resilience, surrender. You can anchor these ideas, these thoughts. Your heart chakra is open. Your heart is open to receiving the wisdom of these tools, balanced with resistance and denial and seeking. Check in with your body. Feel your limbs, your arms, your legs. Are there places that feel balanced? Are there places that feel out of balance? Can you imagine right relationship with resilience, with curiosity, with surrender? As you're feeling this balance, breathing into the center of your being, Anchor this balanced relationship, this new place, this awakening. You'll always have this place available to you to come back to. And as you do this, take some breaths. You've checked in with your body. You may begin to take a few breaths and return to your body and return to the group with these new tools.
Wow, that was very beautiful. I think everybody needs to sort of come back a little bit into the now. I was definitely a little bit away, but I feel really balanced, something that I was also looking for. And I think it's a beautiful way of your metaphor of a decolonized mindset and bringing those two opposite concepts together. So thank you deeply for this beautiful meditation. And I wonder if anybody has a question or a comment or wants something to share in the chat, then you're very open to do so. And I also know that we are close to ending of our session. So I want to also give you the opportunity, if there's anything that you would like to share to our audience, that anything that you think is important to let people know about, that you both have, you can have a word of that as well before we close. So I see some comments coming in of appreciations. Cheryl says, thank you both for this phenomenal gift. Diana says, thank you. Trisha says, beautiful journey, so many insights. Heidi says, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and this meditation. Some clear guidance came through for me about things I've been thinking about in my life. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you all. It's such a pleasure to be able to work with you all like this. It really is. And one of the things I always feel about the mindset, the way that we've been encouraged to utilize our mind, really invites a limitation of what the mind can do, the true possibilities of it when it is expanded and when it can really go to navigate these other areas and other ways of connecting and communicating. I was struck by what you were saying, Dallas, about the plants being the teachers, and that was part of our technology. Well, it's still part of our technology to be able to really listen and communicate and commune and be in that kind of flow of instruction and information. So thank you all for making yourself available for that today, and for the insights that have come through for you, or the healing, or whichever ways you've engaged that energy. It is part of that. It's part of moving beyond this usual everyday way of working with our minds and working with the inherent intelligence that is ours and that we embody. and what we can connect through that. So thank you for allowing that to come through. I really, really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you all. It's always humbling to do this work. In our ways, this doesn't belong to us. And so we always have to, as a human, I always have to go back to the place of understanding that this is spirit work. And spirit work doesn't belong to an individual, to me or anyone. So and when we're in this place, when we're in this channel together, the energy does resonate. Like I felt at least one, probably two people in the room, like there was a poof, there was like, oh, something clicked in. And that's what happens in community when we can resonate, when we vibrate on the same frequency. It's a very powerful place. And it is humbling to be here, and I thank you all for trusting us to guide. I think that about all I was thinking. Oops, somebody's got their hand up.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dallas, for sharing that. I got a few more comments coming in, which I'd like to share. I don't know the name, but it says, Dear Roberta, dear Dallas, this was majestic. Thank you. The beauty of both of your voices guiding us was so absolutely perfect. And I felt the two forces in such duality merging into unity. So absolutely wonderful today on the day of the equinox. Happy day of balance. So I think that's a beautiful comment that I want to say as well here. And from Consuelo, what a beautiful meditation and journey into the sacred space. Thank you to both of you. So I think it's great to read these comments, and definitely in line with the time that we're in right now, and to rebalance ourselves, and also, yes, stay centered in whatever comes forward, and to expand actually our potentials as well, and build more resilience and surrender and all these things that you mentioned in your beautiful meditation and teaching as well. And I also want to ask you, to both of you, now you have found each other and working together, how can people find you and participate in your offering? So I want to ask you that as well, and we will make sure to, of course, put the links how people can find you underneath our YouTube video on our channel. So
Thank you, Naomi, very much. You can find me via my website. It's probably the easiest thing to do. I give monthly groups online, so they are an international offering. They are guided meditations in line with the moon cycles, because things do happen in a cyclical nature. And it's one way of understanding the larger patterns that affect us individually and collectively. And so my website is Essential Sacred Self.
thank you.
If you're having difficulty coming back, ground, breathe and ground, breathe and ground. The ground is your ally in all of this, because we have a human life. Whatever else we can connect and commune with, we're here. So that's a good way to be here and now. Feet flat on the floor, breathe through the body, through the feet, into the ground. I just saw a question. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Also be thinking, feeling, noticing. We generally, in my tradition, we say that for the next 4 days, questions that you may have had, that answers will come, and it's generally a 4-day window for things like this to kind of filter through. So just a noticing and a pause for the next 4 days and I don't know, other cultures probably have different time lengths or periods of time. I did put 2 links in the chat where these are 2 of the species protection groups that I'm working with. And then I put my email in the chat. My website's broken, so, and I haven't really bothered to fix it. So I may go onto the shamans directory. I'll fix my website someday. It doesn't seem like the top priority right now.
Well, we love to have you join us, of course. You're very welcome. So thank you, Roberta and Dallas, for sharing your unique medicine, wisdom, and experience with us. It was very beautiful, special to receive your offering today. And to all of our viewers or the people who will be viewing this later, we hope to stay connected and to see you again at one of our next Shamans Directory live events. So once again, thank you all for being here and to share this beautiful space together. We will be closing our session of today. I wish you all a wonderful weekend and I look forward to see you at our next event.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.